Good afternoon. The meeting will now come to order. Hello, I am Tyra Battaglia, President of the Board of Education. I would like to welcome you to the February 18th, 2025 Special Board Meeting. We have one item on the agenda. There will be no public participation in this meeting. In keeping with the Board's commitment to open communication with the community, this meeting is being streamed live on CCPS website at www.k12.org and broadcast live on Channel 21. We are also recording this meeting so it can be accessed on demand on our website and broadcast throughout the month on Channel 21. As a reminder, please silence all cell phones and other devices. Also, board members, please turn off your microphones when you are not speaking. Board members, also please remember to use your cards, red to ask a question and yellow to comment, and please wait to be called upon. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Dr. Dorsey.
Second.
Second by Mr. Whistler. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And it passes unanimously. Dr. McCabe, I'll have you go ahead and start with action items.
Okay. I'd like to begin tonight by taking a moment to thank parents, staff, and students for reaching out to me with your concerns about the operating budget and the reorganizations that are needed for Blueprint fiscal compliance. While I can't respond to every email, please know that I'm taking the contents into consideration and to heart as we move forward. This last 2 weeks have been some of the toughest of my career, and that includes going through COVID, as well as closing 3 schools. It's not lost on me that none of the decisions that we have to make here are good decisions, are easy decisions. They're all difficult decisions. So we're here this evening so that the board may finalize its FY26 operating budget request to submit to the county commissioners. This is the final date we have scheduled for your budget request, and we must submit your FY26 request by March 1st. That's 8 business days from now to prepare the final budget and get it across the street. So we need to take a vote this evening. Leading up to this evening, we had an initial work session on December 18th. On January 29th, I submitted my proposed FY26 operating budget to the board. On February 5th, we had a public hearing followed by another budget work session. Lastly, at the business meeting on February 12th, we again had a period of discussion on the FY26 operating budget. Thank you. This evening, we have Mr. Drew Sexton, our Supervisor of Budget, sitting with Ms. Bowers off at the staff tables. As the board makes changes to the proposed FY26 operating budget this evening, Mr. Sexton will provide us with an ongoing update on where we stand with a balanced budget request. We'll start the discussion with where we left off at the February 12th meeting. Before moving into the FY26 operating budget, I did want to offer some comments on the other ongoing process we presented on again at the February 12th meeting. The process to achieve fiscal compliance under the Blueprint for Maryland's Future on the 3-year time frame provided by the joint policy of the AIB and the Maryland State Board of Education. That is the process that I forecast almost 3 years ago at a series of town hall meetings. We have continued to discuss it in the intervening months and years. We have discussed blueprint fiscal compliance at town hall meetings, at Board of Ed meetings, at county commissioner meetings, at Carroll delegation meetings, and in meetings with parent groups, employee groups, and civic groups. This past summer, I formed a large system and county-wide work group to develop a plan for implementation. In January, we presented the report of the work group in public session and posted it on the website. We have continued to proclaim the size and scope of the changes that will occur in our schools through the process of fiscal compliance. Then on February 12th, we presented the first set of specific changes as a part of that process. The reaction thus far has been interesting to me. There's been confusion, and there's been a lack of memory or awareness of my original town hall meetings, the months of discussion, the work group's efforts, and the published fiscal compliance report. This has been coming. We openly communicated that it has been on the horizon. We worked to receive flexibility from the state and received 3 years under the AIB MSBE Joint Policy Number 2, and that now we find ourselves in that timeline to move forward with blueprint fiscal compliance. As for the confusion, blueprint fiscal compliance is not the same as the overall revenue and expenditures of the annual operating budget, a point we've been emphasizing here. Blueprint fiscal compliance is not about revenues and expenditures as much as it's about spending existing funding in ways dictated by the state through the blueprint funding law. More specifically, it's about stopping our spending the funding in ways and on staff that we've always been spending it today, and instead spending it differently on different staff and different services to specific students. In that sense, the reductions we outlined on February 12th are not budget cuts. They are instead an act of stopping our spending our funds the way we are today in order to spend them differently to comply with the blueprint law. Blueprint fiscal compliance does not reflect changes to the overall budget. The major categories in the budget are not changing due to blueprint fiscal compliance. What is changing is how the money in the major categories is being spent. Specifically, we must discontinue spending large sums of money as we have in the past in order to spend it on differentiated services to our compensatory education and multi-language students in the schools that they attend. And these are large sums of money. Combined, they total $44 million that need to be reallocated or spent differently on compensatory ed and ML student services. As was pointed out at our last meeting, $44 million is a tremendous amount of funding. It is 10% of our unrestricted operating budget. It is more than all but 2 of the major categories of your operating budget. And all of that, all of fiscal compliance, has not much to do with the purpose of tonight's meeting. So tonight's meeting is about you balancing your FY26 operating budget request to the county. That work is about total expenditures and total new unrestricted revenue. We will pick up that work where we left off at your February 12th meeting. You may also choose to discuss our blueprint fiscal compliance reorganization as it relates to your funding request to the county commissioners. And with that, I'll turn it back over to President Battaglia.
Thank you, Dr. McCabe. I'm pretty sure every board member has comments and things they want to bring up real quick. So I'm going to start with our student rep, Ms. Kang, and then I'm going to go down to Mr. Malvo and we'll come across. So that way everybody can get their views in. And then we can write some things down and have some more discussion, okay? All right, go ahead.
So I think I can speak on behalf of the board that this is a very difficult decision, and there's no good decision that comes out of any of this. And for me personally, it was hard for me to find a idea where I could come to this budget because I was struggling with the question of what's best for our students versus what's beneficial for our students. Like, I know our students have very different opinions of what they want to see happen with this budget, and I was bombarded with texts and messages, and I want to say I read every single one of them. I put down all the notes, and I gathered my own opinions. And at the end of the day, irregardless of my recorded opinion, my role as a student representative is to showcase both sides of whether, well, the two big topics are outdoor school and one-on-one devices for middle schoolers. So at the end of the day, irregardless of my recorded opinion, I find myself really telling the board what both sides are, both for teachers and for students. And the reason why I reached out to our teachers is because they have the most impact on our students. They are the ones that direct with them all the time, one-on-one. So I reached out to our teachers. So for outdoor school, a lot of it is the things that we've already seen on public comments, with memories, making new friends, fine motor skills, independence, hands-on learning, and it's also an incentive for students to, in the first place, even go to school and earn good grades because that's a prereq before entering outdoor school. And it is a valued tradition and something that does make Carroll County. And especially with the way that we do outdoor school is completely different than other counties. Other counties do have outdoor ed, but it's not the same rigorous program that we have, nor is it the very hands-on learning that we do for 5 days. The things that I've been seeing for one-on-one is on curriculum, and I'd like to read aloud some of the programs that our teachers are using in their classrooms. So for math, you have IXL, Desmos, Paradeck, Nearpod, Schoology, Khan Academy, and I think that's all. And the biggest thing for math teachers that I found, and for middle schoolers as well, since I posed the question to some of our middle schoolers who emailed me directly about the importance of outdoor school versus one-on-one devices, is that the way that IXL especially works is it's individualized for each student and gives immediate feedback, and especially with some of our middle schoolers having very high class sizes next year. It's more of like an independent track to make sure teachers understand where all of their students are at without grading papers and taking forever to recirculate their curriculum to make sure it fits the needs of every student. We also have Zinc and Freckle for English, Explore Learning Gizmos, Brain Pop assignments, PHET, P-H-E-T, Interactive Labs, CK12 assignments for science, and there's quite a lot others that I really won't be getting into. And I think another thing is with the compoundment of elimination of reading and math specialists, it will be especially hard for our students to get that interaction that they need with the teacher as much as they have right now with their smaller class sizes. And again, I would love to keep outdoor school, but I think the main consensus that I've been hearing, especially from high school students and teachers, is to keep one-on-one devices. And I know some people may also be asking me why I would be listening to high schoolers in the first place who are not as invested in outdoor school as middle schoolers may be. And my answer to that would be they've been through the entire middle school curricula, they went through outdoor school, or they may have not due to COVID. And so I reached out to both sets of high schoolers that way who truly understand really what it was like for them to go through outdoor school and the skills and lessons they learned there versus the skills and lessons that they learned from having one-on-one computers. And with like typing skills, technology literacy skills that you learn, I think it's better for students to have 3 years before entering high school and having that rather than outdoor school, but that does not take anything away from the importance of outdoor school and I think the hands-on learning experience. Like the question I posed to students was, if I taught you what composting is right now in front of a class, and then I took you to outdoor school and I said, can you put your food in this like composting area, and then let's compost together? The obvious answer is the people who did hands-on composting would understand what composting is at a very integrative level than they would have in a classroom. And I think that is where the divide has been for me. But I just wanted to let you know where my opinion was and where a lot of my students' opinions lie with me. But also the other very important side that outdoor school is very crucial for that for those social skills as a rite of age passage.
Thank you so much for the students' perspective. I know we greatly appreciate it. And we did hear a lot of emails from some students as well. So again, we do listen and read those emails, so I hope everyone understands that. Dr. Malvo, I'll have you go ahead and give your any type of statement you have.
Sure, I appreciate the time and all of the items up there. Well, first of all, I want to thank Superintendent McCabe for explaining and differentiating between the two things in terms of our FY26 and our blueprint budget, because there has been a lot of confusion and through emails and so forth where people are saying, well, the board, you all are deciding who's being cut, who's being, sent here and there and so forth, which is not part of what the board is doing. The board is focused on FY26. The blueprint in terms of its different silos or buckets are mandatory, are forced, and that's not a Board of Education decision in terms of this bucket, well, we'll put this much, this much, this much. There is a stipulated amount that we must put in those buckets, and so we are left with little to decide or discuss or wiggle room with that. So I appreciate that we've again, differentiate the two. So we do have some power, though, with FY26. And, I know that every one of those items up there is important and means a lot to a lot of people. So this is very difficult because there are no good decisions, but there are just going to be hard decisions. And so I looked at each of these. I've, again, read emails. I've talked to teachers. I've communicated with students so that for each one of those items, I could have strong background and understanding of what those things provide. What are the pros for each of them? It's very difficult to say one is more important than the other. So again, there are no good decisions, but I'll just tell you right off that I don't think, and I don't know how we got into this we have to choose outdoor school or we can't choose one-on-ones for 6th through 8th. It's not this or that, one or the other. We don't have to do that. We don't have to take from one to supply the other. It's not going to be a bargaining chip. What I would like to say right off, if not going through each of those line items, right off the bat, I'll let you know that I will not vote in favor of any budget that cuts outdoor school. I won't. So with that in mind, what I would propose, my solution to that right off, is that I would say I'd like to put outdoor school as, part of our fund balance, our rainy day fund, and make that a part of that. So I would like that as part of the fund balance. That's my solution to that. I'd like to discuss that more. In addition, I would like to continue to have the transportation reimbursement formula salary to not be reduced from 5% to 3%, and maybe as a compromise to resolve that, since that is $200,000, I would say if we were going to reduce any sort of technology, if we had to, in terms of 6th through 8th, for every grade level, we would have $300,000 at our disposal. So if just sixth grade were considered and taking away the one-on-ones, that would pay for reimbursement, or that would pay for the bus reimbursement not to have to go down, because our bus drivers and what they do is so essential. I mean, that's priceless cargo, you know, our children, and they've done an incredible job in terms of being on schedule. We've heard about all the disasters of other counties and bus systems and so forth, and so I really think we need to support that group as well. So I would consider the sixth grade one-on-ones being considered eliminated so that we can make sure we have enough for our bus drivers. So I'll start with those two things.
Thank you. Dr. Dorsey, if you have any comments?
Yes, I'll start by saying certainly we are experiencing an unprecedented budget crisis at this time. Our schools have always been the pride of our county. In most cases, the number one reason why families come here. I will say that I am not in favor of any of the reductions that are noted on the screen as a part of our operating budget. And since I'm saying I'm not in favor of those, I'm also not in favor of the way our fiscal, our blueprint fiscal items are laid out. At this point, I know we have to be in fiscal compliance with blueprint, but blueprint originally was stated that it was really to elevate the profession of teaching. And I think by the way we're looking at things now, we've done nothing but lower the expectation or the profession of teaching with all of our proposed cuts, moves, reductions. All positions are certainly valuable, and I would love to have them restated. I know that equity was to be a goal of Blueprint, but I feel that we can't attain equity by stripping our Tier 1 and Tier 2 schools of valuable resources and positions. So the model that has been presented, as far as I'm concerned, is out of balance, and it's presenting hardships that we are certainly finding it hard to manage. So again, I am certainly against the items that are noted there. And before the meeting is over, I'd like to see if we could also get in a statement concerning our fiscal compliance. Again, we know we have to be in compliance, but again, I think a goal of the Board of Ed is to certainly share our realistic needs with the commissioners. And I think once we share those realistic needs, again, attached to those needs is that dollar figure. And I think we have to be realistic and share what it will take to keep everything off that screen in place, as well as taking a look at the Blueprint fiscal compliance measures. Again, I know we have to be in compliance, but if we had enough money, we would not certainly be talking about all of the reductions that we're talking about. Having been in a school for the majority of my life, it seems like, I know that each of those positions has a role and each is important. So again, I would like to thank the teachers who have taken the time to share emails with us. I thank the parents who've taken the time to share emails. And one of the things that certainly has been enlightening is just the number of different ways that devices are being used at our middle school level. I know we had had that as a consideration at one point, but the technology is such a part of curriculum at this point, such a part of instruction. I mean, how can we do without it? If we don't have money to really support the technology, I mean, and teachers have invested a lot of time and effort and energy to get their curriculum areas up to par with technology. So if we all of a sudden strip it, what does that mean? I mean, are we going to give them other resources to use? Are they starting afresh? Do we have money for even instructional materials, textbooks? So again, I'm certainly still in favor of, not bothering the middle school technology as well. So again, my bottom line is that we have got to share what our realistic needs are. And I think the staff has done a nice job of outlining all it will take, to be considered. And again, I know it's taken a lot of time and effort to put it in place, but just know that I'm not in favor of any of those reductions here or in our fiscal compliance measures. I think, again, we have to share our realistic needs with the commissioners, and we can't ask the community to do that if we're not willing to do that for ourselves. So we need to be upfront and say what it will take to keep our schools looking pretty close to the way that they look today. So I think with that I can end, and hopefully we can entertain some motions later that will address some of the concerns that have been raised.
Thank you. Mr. Whistler, do you have any comments?
I do, thank you. Again, Dr. McCabe, thank you for teeing up what is the issue tonight, and that is the budget. The blueprint compliance issues are another issue for another day. However, I don't think anybody up here looks forward to doing either. I can tell you personally, my thoughts are with our employees, our hardworking teachers, staff members, administrators, caseworkers, AFSCME workers, food service workers. There's a lot of people, this is the county's largest employer. And the blueprint mandates are finally rolling out. It's been a big boulder on a hill that's cast a very huge shadow for 3 years that many of us have been talking about. That boulder is starting to roll down the hill, and people are finally starting to notice and take action. We have a $3.6 million shortfall here, and with 2 employer group contracts, let's be realistic, it's $6.6 million. Because we have 1,100 employees that deserve to have their promises fulfilled. And then you combine that with the 44 million blueprint compliance requirement, we'd have to raise our property taxes 20% in Carroll County just to meet those 2 obligations. $54 million is about a 20% increase for the commissioners if they raise property taxes 20%. And that's just to keep things the way they are. And I talk to so many neighbors that go, you've raised spending in this state 40% since 2013. Scores are going down. Where's the return on my investment if you jack up my taxes? And they have a very valid argument. So there are going to be no good decisions today and no good decisions when we implement phase 2. This is what equity gives you, folks. It brings down achievement. It increases class sizes. And this is it. We're not raising everybody up. We're looking at cuts like what you see on the screen there. We're looking at the state legislature holding a figurative weapon to our head saying, you better raise your taxes. You have to comply. Where's the fairness and equity in that? We're going to see staffing models and class sizes where a special needs child at one school in a Tier 1 school isn't getting the same special needs services as somebody in a Tier 4 school. Where's the equity in that? We're going to have a teacher with a class size of 35 to 40 with 2 years of service making the same amount as a teacher with 2 years of service with a class size of 15. Where's the equity for that teacher? We're going to have schools that won't have reading and math resource teachers, but some that will. Where's the equity in that? So I will stop admiring the problem and we will take action. And I just hope everyone says a little prayer for everybody, not us on the dais, but a prayer for our employees on how they move forward and deal with this. And again, I just continue to urge people, call your legislators in Annapolis, because this blueprint thing is not improving education, as my colleague said. It's hurting it. Thank you.
Could I just clarify one thing? And that is, I don't want any parent to think that no matter what the board votes on today, that if their child receives special education services, I just want parents to know that they will still receive the services specified in their IEP, regardless of what school they go to. So I think the spirit, in which Mr. Whistler was speaking was to say that, we could have a student who receives special education services who may go to a school that doesn't receive as much overall funding. And that is true, but all students who have an IEP will receive the services that are required through that IEP process.
Thank you, Doctor. And you are correct. We will comply with the law. My concern is the teachers won't have they won't have the same support structures around them as say other teachers in a Tier 4 school. So I appreciate the clarification.
And Ms. Zimmer, I'll give you the opportunity now.
Thank you. I agree with so much of what my fellow board members have been saying, but my question is, who is going to teach the struggling kids how to read? I refuse to vote for the budget as it has been presented. I refuse to allow Blueprint to eviscerate our school system. I have a plan, but first some context. I live on Glen Drive in Westminster. My 7 and 9-year-old children go to Cranberry Station Elementary. Last year, my then 8-year-old son was struggling with reading. He was falling below grade level. My husband and I, along with 4 educators, ELA, Miss Holly Belfont, homeroom, Miss Vanessa Stewart, media specialist, Miss Karen Marks, and reading specialist, Miss Beth Lindsay Bean, rallied around him. He received targeted instruction in phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. His progress was monitored regularly, and strategies were adjusted as necessary. Additionally, he was given special access to programs on his one-to-one computer that supported his learning and helped him catch up to grade reading level. I can report that my now 3rd grade son is on reading level and got his first A in ELA on last month's report card. It's purely by happenstance that my children go to Cranberry Station, a Tier 4 school. 2 miles in the other direction, and my children would go to Mechanicsville, a Tier 1 school. Under Maryland's blueprint, how would my son's experience play out at Mechanicsville? 2nd grade classrooms will exceed 40 students. There will be no reading specialist, as all will have been eliminated. There will be no interventionalist, as all will have been eliminated. Forget the computer programs that would have helped him catch up to speed. All the computers have been eliminated. Who is teaching the struggling kids how to read? Between the 7 interventionalists and 11 elementary reading specialists, all eliminated by Blueprint, who do you suppose are going to work with the 600+ kids they pull out of the classroom to work with every single day? This doesn't even cover the children who will suffer without help from 15 math resource specialists, eliminated. 14 media specialists, eliminated. 22 media clerks, eliminated because of Blueprint. Again, I ask, who is going to be teaching these kids how to read? Please listen carefully to what I'm about to tell you. We are at a crossroads regarding the future of Carroll County Public Schools. Blueprint for Maryland's Future has dealt a catastrophic blow to our educational system. This board, along with our superintendent, and our attorney, Mr. O'Malley, we have explored all possible avenues to oppose the implementation of Blueprint. However, according to our legal counsel, we do not have a legal standing to litigate. According to Mr. O'Malley, if we bring lawsuit, the governor and attorney general will oppose the suit due to a historic lack of Carroll County local funding. Because of Carroll County's judicious and creative funding methodologies, we have historically never had to ask the Carroll County Board of Commissioners for exorbitant amounts of funding. It is only because of Blueprint that we are in this impossible situation. Now is the time for Carroll County to send a clear message to the state of Maryland that we will not stand by as some students are prioritized while others are left to suffer. Coalitions are already forming and exploring the best options for legal action. I urge all parents and community members to get involved. Teachers, reach out to your union representatives and ask them to take action. This is not a partisan issue. This is a matter of right and wrong. As we know, advocacy and change take time, and CCPS cannot afford to wait. I refuse to stand by and watch our system implode. Across the state, we have the lowest per pupil funding. We are number 24 out of 24 jurisdictions. We can't even afford to keep the lights on. According to Mr. Ted Zaleski's budget presentation to the county commissioners on Thursday, February 13th, the county is projecting a year-end surplus of $39 million. Additionally, if the year-end surplus projections hold, the county's unassigned fund balance will be $69 million. I am not requesting a tax increase. Given the surplus, I am asking that the commissioners join the Board of Education in saving our education system by infusing $13 million into our unrestricted operating budget and an additional $44 million from their fund balance to reduce Blueprint consequences. Commissioners, I'm pleading with you. Please invest in our Carroll County students. $13 million in our operating budget will cover, first and foremost, our utilities at $500,000, computers for grades 3 through 5 at $1 million, closed contracts at $3 million, bus contractors at $0.2 million, outdoor school at $1.1 million, and a promised increase of ongoing funds of $7.2 million. The $44 million additional funds will mitigate Blueprint consequences and will make us whole. It will avoid the elimination of 15 reading specialists, 7 elementary interventionalists, 15 math resource teachers, 14 media specialists, and 22 media clerks, 7 academic facilitators, a mentor teacher school counselor, 2 special ed instructor consultants, a technology coordinator, 2 instructional technology teachers, a career and technology coordinator, an assistant principal, and 7 athletic directors. To be very clear, if we do not infuse capital from our county surplus into our school system, there isn't going to be anyone to teach the struggling kids how to read. I refuse to be part of a school system that stands by and allows kids to suffer. I would like to make a motion to ask the commissioners for $13 million into our unrestricted operating budget.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Dr. Dorsey. And I open the floor for discussion. Please remember to use your cards.
So I just want to make sure, and I really appreciate what everyone on the board is saying in terms of Blueprint and the devastation that it's bringing. I just want to figure out, though, tonight, we are looking at the FY26 mainly in terms of that budget, right? Are we opening up also Blueprint? Just wanna-
So we have to have an answer tonight as far as how you're going to balance the operating budget and what your ask is going to be going across the street. I think the reason that board members are bringing the Blueprint fiscal compliance into this is that if you as a board decide to ask for more funding from the commissioners than they've already allotted for us, then it only makes sense to put the two conversations together for that purpose of asking for funding.
Okay. Well, I don't mean to be a wet blanket or anything, but in terms of Blueprint, what we're understanding is that the amount that the commissioners would need to fund us, around 50 million, not just this year, but every year, is humongous, and that it's very difficult for the commissioners to make a dent in terms of Blueprint and the sort of rearranging that has to be done with these silos, with these buckets where we must put these certain amounts. And when we do get additional funds, those funds will also be put into those silos as well.
Mr. O'Neill, could you give us a quick breakdown on, let's say the commissioners, the board would ask for 44 million, which is about how much we have to rearrange for compensatory education. How would that work?
So 44 million is the total of the compliance gaps under Blueprint, and the plan that we shared last Wednesday is the plan to make those changes of the existing funding. So I guess the way that I would view it, or maybe it would be easiest for folks to view it, would be those formulas that we laid out at the last meeting. Rather than shifting the school system to those formulas and rebasing school by school based on student populations, the way our schools look currently would remain the base, and the $44 million from the commissioners would then be used to fill the compliance gaps at what we had previously identified as mainly the tier 3 and 4 schools.
So what you're saying is we wouldn't have to take from certain schools to give to other schools. We could give to other schools with the additional funding.
Yes, I think that's what I'm saying.
Any other comments? Mr. Whistler?
Yeah, again, the point of order on the motion, is it 13 million or 44 million? I can't remember what the
I
motion
have
is.
two motions. The first is 13 for the unrestricted operating budget. The second will be an additional 44 million.
So right now, the motion on the table is 13 million
Yes, and I have.
for the FY26 operating budget? Okay. Well, again, the 13 million, again, that's way in excess of what the superintendent has recommended as far as 3.6 in current gaps, and I'm assuming that it also involves the 3 million for the employer groups. I'm just,
It actually includes the 7.2 as the promised increase of ongoing, so you could take that out of the 13, which is 5. Right? 3 minus 4. 4.4. So it's 13 total. That would include the 7.2 in promised increase in ongoing.
again, I'm just trying to understand the motion and what it would fill. So,
So if I'm understanding correctly, the 13 million that the request for the county commissioners would be to everything that's on the chopping block currently in our FY26 operating budget, which is 3.6. This also would cover the, plus the 3 for the
two
contracts whole,
employees.
and then the 7.2.
Can you give me a slide number or a?
That is, what number is this? I think it's number 6. Because if you also look on number 7,
So that includes the 7.2 million that they've already promised us.
Correct.
Yeah.
All right, so if they've already promised that 7, do we need to include that in this motion?
It doesn't matter as long as it's differentiated in the conversation.
Just for comments, a motion on the floor to increase the budget request to 13 million from 7.2 then, if I'm just trying to clarify that. That would put our county ranking 20th out of 24 per pupil spending. That would essentially equate to about a 5% property tax increase, just for education and informational purposes.
board members, I do want to remind you, we do not have any tax authority.
I agree.
That would be all the county commissioners. So I think we should refrain from discussing any type of what a property tax increase would look like. That is not in our authority, and we just need to concentrate on what we need to be requesting.
I understand that, and I appreciate that. I'm just trying to put things in context.
Yeah. And again, that was a point I was going to make. Our job is to share what our needs are.
Exactly.
And, then the commissioners take it from there as far as what our request is.
All right, so I have the motion on the floor and a second regarding fiscal year 26 operating budget to ask the county commissioners for 13 million more than we have on there. Oh, Chloe, go ahead.
I was going to ask, what are the chances that they would accept this offer in the first place? Do we have confidence, like 50% confidence that they would give us this much money, or should we be looking at other pathways as well, just in case this is something that doesn't work out?
I think personally for me, we need to start investing in our children's education. We are at right now, an educational crisis right now. We're at the point where it's no longer bare bones. We're drilling into the bone marrow. So I am prepared to ask the county commissioners for whatever we need to do to make sure the Carroll County Public Schools is not the last in Pew Purple funding anymore. And we need to actually show we invest in our children here, and we invest in our children's education.
I agree, and I would also approve of the fact of asking our county commissioners for more money. I just want to be sure that we have, avenues just in case they don't.
Dr. McCabe, I believe, what's when we would...
So you as the board would put in your request to the commissioners, and then they would then take that and look at what they may be able to fund us along with all of the other agencies. And then during that process, at some point, by the end of May, they come back to us and say what they can fund us, and then we have to make the decisions. If they don't give us everything that we've asked for, then we have to work through what cuts we might make.
Go ahead, Mr. Whistler.
Comments? If I can make a comment, asking the commissioners to give us these additional funds, this is 1 year. What about year 2? What about year 3? What about year 4, 5, 6? We really need to understand that asking the commissioners for more money does not give us long-term stability or funding for these issues, and I really appreciate the intent, and I agree. We need to save our schools. We need to protect our kids. We need to make sure that they're educated. But asking the commissioners for more money this fiscal year will not give us remediation in the out years. And I just can't support it.
Dr. Malvo?
My concern is that, of course, we want to make sure every child gets a good education. We are all concerned about that. And it's not a money issue. It was asked earlier, another meeting with John, that, if we didn't have Blueprint in place, would we have to cut any jobs for teachers? Would we have to make any of these cuts if there was no Blueprint? And what did you say?
We certainly have the funding, wherever it is, to pay for these things, if the funding wasn't restricted.
We have the funds if it wasn't restricted. The reality of Blueprint is what we are feeling now. We can try to put money towards this, but this is the reality. And, I care just as much about our students and their future, but it's true, this is 1 year. Are we going to ask for 50 million every year? What we need to do is fight Blueprint. I'm sorry, legislatively, and try to, again, do something about these silos or these buckets and say, this is not affordable, it's not sustainable. And so are we going to put our money forth to try to repair what is always going to be, if this continues, a presence? We are feeling the full effect of Blueprint. This is the reality. And are we going to try to bail out Blueprint with our own money, is the question.
Okay.
Again, I appreciate
Point of order, please make sure we are using our cards. Mr. Whistler.
Again, I appreciate my colleagues' comments, and what you say is striking to the heart of the issue here. Extorting more funds from our commissioners for this purpose, I understand that. I understand the intent. But it doesn't solve the long-term funding issues associated with Blueprint. It only gives in and capitulates to what the state is asking. And this is why you have the catastrophic failure we see in other counties with regards to academic output, taxes, no return on the investment for the taxpayer. I would just prefer that we stick to talking about how we're going to solve the $3.6 million shortfall. And again, I'll close by just asking my colleagues to vote no on the motion.
Go ahead, Chloe.
I have, I think, two main questions. Would there be any way to decrease costs in any of them? So like for outdoor school, I'm aware it's 1.1 million. Is there any way we could outsource it? Or I know other counties have different methods, like the teachers are more involved, and rather than having 4 outdoor school teachers, they have 1, and then the science teachers do a little bit of the instruction. Or is there any way we could outsource?
So, and I'm not sure, Ms. King, what you mean by outsource, but that's, and you may not mean what's in my mind, but that's not, so we can't outsource. We have to be in relationship to our bargaining units and their contracts. Could we, the one thing we did try to run an estimate on would be if we discontinued the evening program, the overnight program, and just ran outdoor school as a day program, and I believe the estimated savings was like $178,000. So not, not a real significant dent into this. Yeah, and that I hear folks commenting that net savings of 178, if that was the right number, also included some offsetting increased costs of transportation, of more transportation. Could we run it with fewer teachers? I don't want to speak. That's not something that anyone's analyzed. I guess there'd also be a concern of could we run it safely with fewer staff on hand? I don't know. So I guess I would say, to answer your question, the one thing we costed would be if it were just a day program, and that would knock that number down to just under $1 million.
Dr. Dorsey?
Oh, I was going to say, Mr. Whistler had said he called for the vote. So are we ready for that?
I did not hear that, but, okay, so I'm trying to get there. All right. So I have a motion on the floor from Ms. Zimmer and a second from Dr. Dorsey to ask the county commissioners for the $13 million. I call for the vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So I have student rep, Ms. Zimmer, Dr. Dorsey, myself as aye, and nay.
No.
And nay was Mr. Whistler and Mr. Malveaux. Okay? So it passes 3-2 with the student rep as well. Ms. Zimmer.
I would like to make a motion to request an additional $44 million from the commissioners.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Dr. Dorsey, and I open that up for conversation. Go ahead, Ms. Zimmer.
I think I made myself pretty clear early on about why I believe that we need the $44 million. I think we will see a return on our investments in our 7-year-olds.
And red cards, go ahead, Dr. Malveaux.
Again, I've stated why I think that that there's this masking of the problem with throwing more money at the problem, which the money's not the problem. So I wouldn't vote in favor of 44 million. And is that going to be sustained every year, I wonder?
I believe it would give us time to,
Use your cards.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I believe it would give us time legislatively to address the problem while not letting any of our students fall between the cracks in the interim. And we can address next year when we get there.
Dr. Dorsey?
And it would certainly help us as far as our Tier 1 and Tier 2 schools are concerned. And maybe at this point, Dr. McCabe, where are we? Is there going to be any kind of relief or changes or whatever as far as this blueprint fiscal compliance?
So the governor has developed a bill that includes relief, blueprint relief, but really none of what's in the bill gets to what we're talking about today. So Carroll County will not see any relief based on the governor's bill. Now, the governor's bill has not yet been amended, so through the amendment process, we could be helped. I will be in Annapolis all day tomorrow to see that process through, and we'll see what happens there.
Okay, any other? Dr. Dorsey, did you have any other comments? No. Okay. Mr. Whistler?
Yeah, again, I urge my colleagues to vote no on this motion. Again, I think we're shortchanging ourselves by not talking about the specific issues that we should look at as far as realizing efficiencies, the things that we can handle, because we run a very serious risk of those across the street of saying, got it, you requested this, and got it, you requested that, and the answer is no. Now what? I'm very fearful that we're going to find ourselves back here in, I believe it's May. And then what? Then what do we look at? And if that's the goal of my colleagues, I get it. I understand that. That's fine. But again, I urge my colleagues to vote no on this motion. And I call the question.
Before I call for the vote, just real quick, again, you know, I was put on here because I said I felt our children were important and we wanted to invest in our children. And again, I think that's what we're supposed to be here to do, and that's what we need to do. We need to finally put our kids first for once, and how we get there, we'll get there. But our kids need to come first, and so do our staff as well. So I call
Can we still comment, or?
Oh, Dr. Dorsey, go ahead.
I just wanted to make the point that we're in this situation now because of our efficiency. I mean, we're so lean that in the past, whenever we wanted to make cuts or decreases or changes, we stayed as far away from the classroom level, from the instructional level as possible. We're no longer at that point. That's why we see people like reading specialists, math resource teachers, media clerks, media specialists. I mean, that's why we are seeing the people that we're seeing, not the names at this point, but we see what these positions are. And again, that's why we're at this point of making those cuts that are really going to affect instruction, because again, we've been so lean. And we've made that point over and over again. I mean, if we had those 375 positions back, or if we could turn back the hands of time and, have those to pull from, we wouldn't be in a situation where we're impacting instruction. But I can really see that instruction is going to be impacted if we move forward with the fiscal compliance as it was presented to us.
I completely agree. I mean, we've been saying we've been cutting and cutting and cutting, and at this point now we are really hurting our kids at this point. We need to invest in our kids in this county, and that's an important part. Okay, so now I'm going to call for the vote to request 44 million from our county commissioners that would help go towards the blueprint restricted side. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So I have student rep, Ms. Zimmer, myself, and Dr. Dorsey. Nays?
No.
So that is Mr. Whistler and Dr. Malville. Okay, the yeas have it. All right.
One point of clarification on the first vote. As we were here talking about the blueprint fiscal compliance portion, our finance folks were there working out the numbers that we talked about for the operating budget. And you voted to ask the commissioners for 13 million for the operating budget. As we go through, though, I just wanted to make sure that that was what you wanted to do, because the commissioners already had promised 7.2. The contract fulfillment for the 3 bargaining units was 3 million. And then the deficit up there on the screen is 3.6. So if you total that, you get 13.8. So I just wanted to clarify, do you want to ask the commissioners for 13 million, or did you want to ask them for 13.8?
My 13 did not include the reduced 3.0 FTE at central office, and it did not include to reduce material of instruction budget.
Got it.
Can I say something?
Go ahead and use your card. Dr. Malvo?
So, and I know we all care deeply about students and their education here. I have a list of different solutions should the commissioners decide no on these proposals. And I think it'll be a good time for everyone to tune in again to hear how we can fiscally work our way through this as well. What are some possible recommendations to work through this if this should not succeed?
Thank you. Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Whistler.
I move we adjourn. We don't have to now.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, John.
We would need to adopt the budget by categorical totals, reflect.
I withdraw my motion.
You've approved the motions, but
Right.
not the categorical totals. And we would need a few minutes to
Okay.
calculate that.
Well, let's pause for a moment.
Yeah, we'll pause for a few moments while
Okay.
while you do that by category.
Where's the Jeopardy? Do, 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 do.
So what we'll do is we'll have Mr. Sexton display the categorical totals. Maybe. And what we, well, I guess we'll wait for him. Okay. So understand. I don't know what happened to the other screen. It's coming. So as a point of clarification, under state education law, these are the major categorical totals. This is the level at which you adopt your budget request and submit it to the county. Ultimately, when all final revenue is known, state and local, this is the manner in which you adopt your final budget to conform to revenue. This also legally is the level at which the county government approves your budget, adopts your budget into the county operating plan. So that's why we're bringing back these specific numbers. These are the major categories of a school system's budget in state education law. That being said, the first motion of the additional $13 million, we're really confident in how we adjusted these categorical totals based on that motion. The second motion, relative, I think, to fiscal compliance, we've done our best here to identify the major categories of the budget where we believe the $44 million would then be dispersed to respond to the blueprint fiscal plan. However, there's some need to, there'll be some nuance to that. We'll need to spend the intervening time analyzing that. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter when you get final revenue. We would do a final reconciliation anyway, and you would again vote on these major categorical totals reflecting final revenue. If somehow the county funded all of this, I guess what I'm saying is some of these major categories might need to be tweaked down to the number, but that can happen in May. There's no reason that stops your process this evening. I just wanted to throw out that adjusting for the 44 million is a little more precise probably than what we could do right now tonight. Any questions on any of that?
Mr. Whistler?
I just want a point of order. Can we have a motion on the floor? What are we voting on?
I
don't-
think you,
Don't we have to vote on categories, you said? Or?
yes, sir, there would need to be a motion to approve the major categorical totals.
Need a motion.
I'll make the whatever. Who's going to make the motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept those.
Okay, Dr. Dorsey?
categories.
Second by Ms. Zimmer. Discussion? Mr. Whistler?
Again, just for everyone's perspective, and because perspective is everything, I say it all the time. We're asking for a total of about 57 million from the commissioners. That would put us per pupil spending about, got my calculator out, about 11th out of 24 counties. And in everyday terms, that's, our colleagues across the street would have to implement a tax increase, property taxes more than 20%. So it's just really important to understand the impact of what we're asking for. And it also makes us just capitulate to what they're wanting us to do down in Annapolis. So it's kind of contrary to what I thought we were trying to do all along. Again, I urge my colleagues to vote no on the motion. I think it's excessive. I think we've seen a 38% increase in this state in education spending since 2013, with scores going down. And I concede my colleague's point that this is to make us sustain and keep pace. And I agree, it would probably help us do that. But I just think there's another way to do this, and I just don't think this is a financially responsible way to do it. So I urge my colleagues to vote no on the motion.
Mr. Whistler, thank you for that. I would love to hear what the alternative option at this time is.
Is that for me? Right now, the only thing we were supposed to be talking about was the $3.6 million shortfall on our operating budget. And so we've turned this from a $3.6 million discussion into a $54 million discussion. 57 million, I apologize. So again, that's the concern, the reservation I have. I understand the intent, and I respect and understand completely where the emotions come from and the intent. I just would have appreciated approaching this in a piecemeal, phased approach like I thought we were going to do. But look, the body operates as a whole, and I understand that. But I just wanted to make sure that folks understood this is a $57 million request. And while it puts us at 11th out of 24 for pure pupil spending, by my calculations, I might be wrong. It just it doesn't give us too much of a leg to stand on if we want to try to fight these blueprint mandates, because folks in Annapolis are going to say it's a moot point. You're already doing it, and that's the concern I have. And also, we have 190,000 registered voters in this state. Probably, a third of our households send kids to schools. This is going to be a huge financial impact on those families that don't have kids in school, that barely can afford their rent or their mortgages, especially after assessments go up. What we've seen in our counties, inflation. Again, I just think it's a reckless approach financially. And then again, the last point I'll say is we will very likely find ourselves back here in May, a month before we have to execute, doing what I thought we should have done here today. But again, I respect my colleagues, and I respect the vote. Thank you.
Board members, the motion is on the floor.
Would we speak
For-
still?
Okay,
We'll just look my cards here.
I think we're losing control here of the meeting. There was a motion on the floor to vote on what was changed, and now.
Point of order. Madam, if you want to invoke cloture and close discussion and debate, it requires a 2/3 majority vote. It requires four board members to stop debate. So point of order, unless we have four votes, I request we continue debate.
I second that. I second that.
All right, go ahead, Dr. Malvo.
Thank you. So Ms. Zimmer brought up in terms of, what other solutions or things that could be done in terms of budget. I've got a list of different things. I just didn't think that was today. I thought that we were just doing the FY26. So I don't know if we're going to do that at a later date, but I do have some things here that I could recommend in terms of budgetary items if we want to do that.
So no matter what we vote on today, we won't know what the commissioners are going to do until mid to late May. So it doesn't, we as a school system need to move forward with the reorganizations, the eliminations, the repurposing that we have planned for. So none of that can stop based on any decision that's made tonight. That can only stop based on what the commissioners agree to fund us. So, so my proposal would be to vote tonight, and then as we continue to plan for the reorganization for the blueprint fiscal compliance, this can be something on each of our monthly agendas to talk about what we're doing, what we're moving forward with, and are there any other viable solutions?
Okay, thank you.
All right. Go ahead.
I had a question. I know, Mr. Whistler, you said that you were thinking that this meeting would turn take a different direction than the one that we had taken just now. So I was wondering if we could go back and circle to a different discussion and go line by line, like you said, I believe, and just do another discussion like we were starting from the beginning. I'm sorry if that's confusing.
There's a motion and a second, and
This is the discussion.
debate has to be germane to the motion.
Unfortunately, I think we're past that.
Okay, that's what I was just wondering.
So the discussion then right now is what is on the screen. Ms. Zimmer?
Just a final comment. I want to make myself crystal clear that I am not suggesting a tax increase. I cited earlier, the county is projecting a year-end surplus of $39 million. Additionally, if the year-end surplus projections hold, the county's unassigned fund balance will be $69 million. Thank you.
Okay, so the motion on the floor was to vote on what these new numbers are. Okay. So I am going to call for the vote on what is on the screen. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And the nays.
No.
Mr. Whistler and Dr. Malvo vote nay. The yeas were the student rep, Ms. Zimmer, myself, and Dr. Dorsey. The yeas have it. Okay.
And then one more vote has to take place. That's for the food services budget and the debt service budget. Separately, yes.
Okay.
I move we accept the food service budget.
Okay.
I'll second that. Oops.
Okay, so I had a motion by Mr. Whistler and a second by Dr. Dorsey. All those,
Can I make a comment?
Mr. Whistler?
Just so the public knows, food service budget is not affected by county tax dollars, county revenues, county anything. Food service budget and contracts typically associated with that are entirely funded outside of our county. So that's why I made the motion for that. Thank you. I call for the vote.
Yes, to clarify, the food service budget is self-sustaining. So, so everything that food services buys has come out of the funds that they've collected through the school lunch program.
Okay. I call for the vote. All those signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? It's unanimous. And then the second motion is,
For the
I can't read that.
service.
Debt service. Do I hear a motion?
I move we approve the budget for the debt service.
Mr. Whistler, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Dr. Malvo. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? And that passes unanimously. Okay. If there is nothing else, may I make?
I move we adjourn.
I'll second that.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And thank you, everyone. Have a good night.